Introduce Trey Land, who is the first time he's been here. Of course, he got started real quickly after the season last year. He became the 20th head coach at ETSU in like November 27th or something like that, which means that Doc Sander had his eyes on him already, apparently. And there's reason to believe he should have, because before he came here, he spent 4 years at Gardner-Webb, 2 years conference champion there. In 23, he was in the top 25 in the country. He's made the playoffs twice in that division. And actually, last year, I think you had two really close games to Division I teams, almost Liberty and Coastal Carolina, I think. And also he was coach of the year in the conference he's in 22, and then in 21, I think it was, he was identified as one of the outstanding young coaches in America by the National Coaches Association. So he's obviously been identified early. There's a reason for his being a coach. If you hadn't heard or have read, it comes in the family. I asked him when he started thinking about coaching. It had to be pretty early because his father was his coach in high school at Calhoun, Georgia. His father led Calhoun to 3 state championships. His grandfather was a coach who had 3 state championships at schools. And also he has an uncle, Bobby Lamb, who is currently the coach at Anderson College in South Carolina, has won over 100 Division I games. So obviously it's in the family. He got started early. He's a Tennessee Tech grad. I should say he was all-state quarterback in high school also. And then when he went to Tennessee Tech, he started 3 years and was captain 3 years. I think the captain says a lot about him personally and his leadership quality to be captain 3 years at Tennessee Tech, and then to show how much he was into coaching. The year he graduated, he ends up being a quarterback coach at Tennessee Tech. He did that for a year, and then he went to Mercer, another school, I think, as a quarterback coach. Then came back to Tennessee Tech as the offensive coordinator. Led Tennessee Tech to a much better season, helped them with a much better season. And
like you said, I come from a family of coaching. I'm 34 years old, so I think I'm the 3rd or 4th youngest coach in Division I football. I was actually hired at 30 years old at Gardner-Webb. I was the youngest coach in Division I football at that time. But all through the interview process, I've interviewed for 3 head coaching jobs now. I think I'm wiser beyond my years than what my age says. I went to football practice when I was 3 years old. That's not a lie. I've been obsessed with it. I've played nothing but quarterback my entire life. Obviously, when I was in high school, I played it all. I played point guard, played golf, played shortstop on the baseball team. I was a 4-sport letter person. I went to a little AA high school in Georgia. My dad was the head football coach, and I played it all. But when it came time to get recruited, I played for a man named Watson Brown, who some of you guys may remember that name from his Vanderbilt days as the head coach there. He's head coach at Cincinnati Rice. He's the older brother of Mac Brown, who was the head coach at Texas and now North Carolina. So played for him. He recruited me to Tennessee Tech, and the rest is kind of history. I fell in love with it, had a good career, and I could not see myself doing anything else. I did an intern one summer at State Farm, and I cold called for 2 months at a desk and made some money, and I told myself I'll never do that again. I got to be outside, and I love young people. You can't replace that locker room and the feeling you get after winning football games. So I'm addicted to it. I love it. I love football. I love playing golf. That's really all I like to do. Like you said, I got 2 little girls, Olivia and Drew, 4 years old, 3 years old. They're used to moving. We went to FCA camp in Black Mountain, North Carolina this summer, Fellowship of Christian Athletes with my family. And my 3-year-old says, "Daddy, are we moving to North Carolina again?" Because we've moved already twice for the older one, and now, with the youngest one, she's moved already. So it's part of the life I chose. My wife's beautiful. She's awesome. She's from Dalton, Georgia. Went to Ole Miss. We met in college, and she lets me do what I need to do to be successful, and I can't thank her enough for that. So let's kind of talk about ETSU football, where we're at, where we've been, what's going on in the last 7 months. So I was hired in November. I think I was the first coach hired in this cycle. So I think there was 60 Division I head coaches replaced this year between Power 4 and FCS. I think I was the first one hired. Okay, so for one, that allowed me to get a great jump start on recruiting, and I knew we needed to bring in a lot of players. I had 3 to 4 opportunities to go to different colleges as the head coach. We had 2 good seasons. I knew my time at Gardner Webb was coming to an end with the resources we had, and just I knew a lot of my best players were leaving. We had recruited it for 4 years. We had built it the right way. We built the program. It was time. It was time to move up. It was time to take a step up and go find a program that could be supported financially, and we could win a national championship. And, I looked at 3 or 4 places, interviewed at 3 or 4 places. Ultimately, I chose ETSU for a couple of reasons. Number one, where we're at in the region. Okay, I'm from Northwest Georgia. I played at Tennessee Tech. I'm familiar with the area, and we can get great football players in this region. And if I found out very quickly that if you're successful, people are going to show up in those stands. It's a rabid fan base. It's a blue-collar community, and it's a community of hardworking people that love football. It's a football town. It's a football city. It's a football area up in Northeast Tennessee. Second, great place to live, great place to raise a family. I don't know how long I'll be here, right? That's part of the deal. I'll probably be fired after year 5 or, get a contract extension after year 5. You don't know. You never know in this business, okay? But I wanted my little girls to grow up somewhere safe, somewhere that has the same values that I do, and somewhere where they could go to school and learn, and my wife could be comfortable and safe. And I feel like this area accomplishes all those things. The other part I looked at was the roster. Obviously, I gotta win. Like, that's my goal. I'm a winner. I'm going to win. I have to win. That's the bottom line. I love pouring into kids. I love impacting their lives. At the end of the day, you got to win, and that's what we're going to do. But I looked at the roster, and there was 35 scholarship positions open. So I started thinking, if I get hired in November and I can bring in 35 new players, we could look totally different than what they did the last 2 years, going 3-8, 3-8. Now, George Quarles is a terrific guy, a family friend. We've gone to the beach with their family. Obviously, my uncle was the head coach at Furman for 15 years. George has Furman ties. He played there. My uncle was coaching there when he played. We're close, okay? And that was kind of a hurdle in the interview process. They didn't want to hire another Furman guy. And I'm like, I didn't go to Furman. I have nothing to do with Furman. That's my uncle. But anyways, George's a terrific human. Why it didn't work with George, I don't know. That's not my job. In my opinion, I think George is a great football coach. And it just didn't happen for him. The timing was bad with all the COVID and the transfers and the NIL. He would tell you today that he probably didn't handle it the way he should and wasn't as adaptive as he could have been. And I've talked to George many times. We're still close. I'm not ever going to say bad things about George Quarles because he's a great man. But I've got to do things differently. We brought in 30 transfers for our January semester. 22 of those came with me from Gardner Webb, where we took our best players. I mean, in today's day and age, man, if you hire a head football coach, he's bringing guys with him. Same thing, you hire an offensive coordinator from, I don't know, if Georgia loses their offensive coordinator and he goes to Oklahoma, you think some of those players are going to go with him? Absolutely. It's just part of it. It's part of the deal we're in right now. But that's what we did in January and February and December. We acquired talent. You have to be talented. Kirby Smart and Nick Saban are 2 of the greatest coaches. Coach Heupel at Tennessee. Why are they good? Are they just that much better coaches than Butch Jones and Derek Dooley? No. They've got players. They're winners, and they have players. They've got recruiting bases, and they're recruiting great players. 99% of what we do is acquiring talent. Now, obviously, you got to get that talent to be disciplined, playing together, physical, tough, emotional, all the things that go along with football. At the end of the day, I'm a salesman. I got to sell ETSU. I got to recruit 18-year-olds to come play for me. So we ended up signing about 30 transfers in January, and then we also went out and got 18 high school players in February. So we acquired about 48 new players. By the time we get to practice 2 days ago, we had 52 new players on the team. That's half the team. I only carry 108. We have 100 in training camp right now, so that's more than half have never set foot on ETSU's campus since December. That was their first time being here. So absolutely a complete new ball club. That's what we've done. That's what we did in December, January, February. So we get to February, signing day's over. I give the coaches a few days off. We get back in the office, and we go to spring practice, right? You get 15 practices in the spring. We're installing our systems. We're tackling. We're scrimmaging. We're trying to get the culture where we want it during March, April. They go home for the month of May. We got our guys back up here in June. They've been working with our training staff. to get in shape, running in the heat for the last 2 months, and we just started training camp 3 days ago. So today was our first day in pads, so we hit a little bit today, had a really good physical practice this morning. Luckily, we beat the rain. Looks like it's about to rain right now, but we beat the rain this morning. We were out on the turf and had probably our best practice today since I've been here because it was physical and it was hard-nosed, and we really got after it. He mentioned air raid, okay? I come from an air raid background. My dad was an old wing T guy, okay? If some of you football guys may know what that means. He was a wing T guy. He was very military-like in his approach. No nonsense. Yes, sir. No, sir. We're going to run 8 plays. It's like nicotine. Give it time. Always works. That's how my dad was, right? Well, I go to college, and I play for Watson Brown, who is a kind of a offensive savant, if you will. And all of a sudden, we're in the shotgun, and we're throwing the ball all over the yard when I played. We were a passing team. So I've kind of mixed principles over the last 11 years in coaching. I've tried to come up with a system that kind of fits both philosophies. I do believe you still have to run the football to win games. But in today's day and age, you recruit great athletic quarterbacks, and you spread these teams all over the field, a lot like Tennessee does, and you play with tempo, and you get these athletes in space. You can really score some touchdowns. You can score 45, 49 points in a game, which was unheard of 15, 20 years ago. There's also a common misconception that the air raid system is soft and you don't have to be a tough person to play in it. I totally disagree with that. There's a guy named Mike Leach who passed away last year who created the air raid system. And while Mike was one of the toughest coaches to play for in the history of football, he locked a kid in a closet because he had a concussion. I mean, this guy he's hard to play for. He was tough. And I run a similar system. We're going to be tough. Like in this new day and age, we're not bound down to the players. We're not letting them run the program. We are going to be hard-nosed. They're not going to make mistakes. We're not going to beat ourselves. Just because we're throwing the football does not mean we're soft. We're still going to be tough. We're still going to be hard on them, and they're still going to play to a standard. Our style of play on defense is very aggressive. We're going to blitz. We're a 4-down system, if you guys understand that, 4-2-5, a lot like the Vols. Again, you come watch us on Saturdays. The systems are going to match a lot. You're going to see a lot of carryover. But those guys are going to play hard. They're going to play fast. We're going to blitz a lot, play some man coverage, and we're going to get after them. But at the end of the day, our effort is going to win us 6 games. We're going to play harder and practice harder and train harder than everybody we play against. And I'm adamant about that. We watch the video. We have team meetings every night. We work at it. And we work at make sure these guys have a great attitude and play with great effort. In this program, how do I want to build it moving forward? I don't want to take 30 transfers every year, right? I hate it. The transfer portal, it's not fun for us. It's not. But I'm also 34, and I'm not quite jaded by the way it used to be. I've only been a head coach in the transfer portal era. I get it. I understand how it works. And we're not going to go get 30 transfers every year. In a perfect world, I'd like to have 10 to 15 high school kids, 10 to 12 to 15 transfers. The problem with the transfer portal is you don't know when they can leave. Your best player may come in after the season and say, I'm out. I'm going somewhere else. Well, at that point, he's 21 years old. He's played 3 years of football for me. He's produced for 3 years. I can't go replace him with a freshman. It's impossible. I'm going to get fired. So I got to go at that point, go find another 21-year-old that's played 3 years somewhere else and produced. So it's almost like a reaction, a chain reaction, and it keeps going down and down and down like a farm system. But I think the coaches that sit and complain about it and moan about it are the ones that get fired. I think you got to address it on the head, hit the nail on the head, and say we're going to adapt, we're going to recruit, and we're going to take guys a fitness program. We're going to be tough on them. If they don't want to be here, forget about them. I'll go get somebody else who wants to be here. That's my opinion on it. I appreciate this community for embracing me. Tri-Cities has been terrific. I play golf a lot in the spring. I've met a ton of people. I'm still looking to meet new people. We look forward to filling the stadium up this fall. I'm going to ask some questions and give away I got 3 hats and I got 8 tickets here. So 4 to 2 different games, a Samford game, and I think the North Dakota State game that we've been given. So I'm going to ask some questions, and you raise your hand, I'll give those away, and then I'll open it up for questions here at the end, okay? But thank you guys so much for having me. Okay, first question. We'll give away a hat right here. What school did I go to? What college? All right, in the back there. All right, here you go. What was East Tennessee State's football record last year? All right, that's 1 million people. What is the name of our football stadium? It's right here. We have a rivalry at ETSU that goes back a long way, even before football was dropped at ETSU, and now it's kind of been brought back up the last couple of years. It's called the Railway Rivalry. Raise your hand if you know who that's against. All right. All right, so ETSU brought football back in 2015. Played at Science Hill High School for 2 years, and then 2017 transitioned to Bill Green Stadium. How many coaches have there been since the restart? Raise your hand. 20. Nope, since the restart, since they brought it back. 4, that's correct.